Good morning, good morning, good morning, folks. Very, very rainy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. Yes, we are going to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the usual disclaimers. You know the usual, right? And of course, like always, when I start these videos and doing front loading, I just want to say, rain sucks. Alright, what do I mean by this? So, every once in a while, I have to go to the gas station to fulfill such urgent needs of I need Dr. Pepper to live. And these cravings, as sometimes it goes that way with people with neurodiversity, you will go even if it's raining. Fine, Tiff, that's all well and good. What does that have to do with anything? Okay. I've mentioned on this channel before about major sensory issues. And in fact, some of us are hypersensory. Me, right? Right. So now I am grabbing a rain, bundled up like a freaking Eskimo, mainly because rain or humidity tends to turn my hair into basically a giant frizzy fluff that kind of resembles a mushroom. And thing was fine with walking down there. That was fine. It was coming back though, right? Right? That in spite of my umbrella and in spite of holding the umbrella at the angle that the rain was falling, my pants, they didn't get thoroughly soaked, thank God. But rain on pants. Speaking as an autistic hypersensory, I just might say this. I hate the feeling of wet jeans more than anything on this planet, and I've been through some shit. Oh my gosh, you want to talk about something that has driven me nuts? I can still remember going to school, not having a change of jeans, and having sit at the bus stop with my jeans getting just completely and utterly soaked. And since that's the only pair I had to wear, get to deal with that all day. The cold, the irritation, the itching becoming so much of an itching that it was bordering on painful. In fact, it would distract me from my lessons because sensory issues is not fun. It's not fun, folks. So yeah, thankfully they're getting dried now, thankfully, but yeah, no, it's not fun. It's not fun, folks. I bring this up because a lot of things can cause meltdowns, but one of the easiest on the planet is an unexpected, overwhelming sensory thing, right? Right? Can turn a full focused, well masked autistic into an basically, you get what I'm saying, right? Right? Yeah. It can even cause meltdown if there is no relief from the sensory issue. Get hi, how you doing? What happens then is the I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube. I'm going to tell you why. Because a lot of times we can have a meltdown due to sensory, with nobody willing to, use logic to dictate, they're having sensory issues because their jeans are wet. Right? Right? But instead of helping or trying to figure out any type of solution that would at least help so that when they come out of the meltdown, they won't go into another one about an hour later. Because I've done that too. No. They take out their phones. They film us at our most vulnerable, without our permission, without our consent, and will now place it on YouTube, on TikTok, and then that is a reason to either vilify us or make us look extremely pitiful. They do this to help get donations. Or if we're talking about Autism Mommy TM, make monies off of our backs by creating businesses and snake oil bullshit that they would then sell to other desperate parents. So yeah. Now, how does that come into the JRC? Well, I'm glad you asked. Think about it for 2 seconds. When you've got regular media and even secondary social media filming nothing but our bad spots, filming nothing but the meltdowns, nothing but when we are out of control, how y'all gonna view us? Yeah, right. It conditions society at large to accept some things that go on in our treatment, even if it's horrifying. Because all they've seen are these extreme videos, and they think, well, they're so out of control, maybe they do need to be shocked at 85 MPa, because look how out of control this is. Look at this meltdown here. Yeah. It's not exactly the jump that people think it is. It's actually a very short, slippery slope. Thankfully, I had a mom who's been in the healthcare for longer than a majority of people have been alive about around this generation, who uses logic and sense and would do such things to stop things before they happen, such as, you could just stick an extra pair of jeans in your backpack and just have them in your locker for, when you need something like this, Tiff. Reasonable accommodations, right? Planning ahead. Don't need shock treatment. Just need logic. All right. Now to the disclaimers. In the description box, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called quote-unquote behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much. They have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. Of course, NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read that article and make sure to share it on all your social media. We also have linked in there NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC ever actually managed to get the balls to see through with their threat. Right? Because I want them to get up there and fucking explain this to me like I'm 2. Because it doesn't make sense. Not on any level. Any level. Alright, but moving on, we also have linked in there the Ozark's first article in regards to the Agape boarding school / now known as Stone for Help boarding school. This is a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in, Tiffany can't brain today. Tiffany can't brain. This is how sensory can short-circuit our brains. Like this. Like that. Yeah. All right. A Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has pending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the hard evidence, including ER documents gathered during the investigation done by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor who still lives on the premises up on multiple, again, substantiated claims. Yard documents. They make hell of receipts of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. We have a brand new attorney general, too busy chasing after drag queens for, existing, to actually do his job and attack the real pedophiles and groomers, such as those who are proven with hard evidence to be pedophiles, like the staff over there at Stone for Help boarding school. And you've got a governor who's not only toting this line, but now wants to, verbally attack China. And he's also after the drag queens. So, send help. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. I am going to rant about that a little bit because I know the drag queens around here. None of the drag queens I know in this state is going to show up at a kid's school. Okay? This is Missouri. They enjoy breathing. They know what will happen if they do that sort of thing. They know how violent and just completely willfully ignorant some of these people that follow the mega churches out here are. You want to know what the drag queens do? As someone who's lived in this state, allow me to tell you. They have their day every weekend down at a place called Martha's Vineyard, where they do the drag shows. They are downtown during that time. That's it. At night, downtown, nowhere near a school. Exactly who are they grooming? Full-fledged adults? Because you can't get in there without an ID. And you better be 21 when you go up to the bartender. I'm sorry, but the fact that they have gone crazy about drag queens of all things who have never been a problem or anything even the GOP was going to actually preach about until all of a sudden now. So I don't get it. We're going to go after these people who've done absolutely nothing fucking wrong. But we're not going to punish people who've been proven with hard evidence and ER documents to have actually done the things that they're claiming the drag queens are trying to do.
Actually, if you watch the new documentary series, How to Be a Tyrant, one of the key steps in controlling people is to give them someone to hate as a group. Unify the people in hate, and you can control the people.
This is a very true thing. I've actually studied shit like this, but still, seriously, folks, Republicans, use your damn logic. Think. That's my huge message to this entirety of this whole fucking generation, both GOP extremists and leftist extremists. Stop just being gullible little fucking fish or lambs, whatever the hell you want to call yourselves. Stop. Sit down. Think. Okay? Moving on. We got the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign as well, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition, a link to Jennifer Musumba's behavioral shockable offenses, and a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002. Folks, when we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones. This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and we speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, parental supervisory, obviously advised. Yeah. Good. All right. Trigger warning. We are about to once again descend into the mad ravings of the nonsensical and mad mind of Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear gaslighting, victim blaming, pseudoscience, lie on top of lie on top of lie on top of motherfucking lie. You're going to hear abuse and torture apologencia. You're going to hear such nonsensical arguments that fighting for these kids to not be tortured for being alive and breathing is somehow violating their disability rights. Enough ableism, bigotry, and just out-and-out mind-numbing stupid to circle the globe a few thousand times, coming from a man who has a severe God complex. So just, be prepared for the stupid, all right? I mention this because once again, like a fucking teenager on Twitter, he's decided to go ahead and write everything in big capital letters. Dude, you're in your fucking 90s at this point. You were in your, 80s, late 70s during this time. You're not a fucking teenager. It isn't cute. It just fucking pretentious as fuck. Sit down. Ugh. I hate to say it, folks, but I lost my hope for humanity a long time ago. I'm just getting more and more depressed as it gets worse. Very few glimmers that might give me a slice of hope before the world takes it again. But let's move on to this obnoxious paragraph, shall we? We are going to try to keep this short. This is going to be the longest video on here, hopefully. We'll see how bad stupid is. The MDRI report was prepared by the persons with pre-existing philosophical opposition to the use of adversives. Here the fuck we go again. Doctor, I don't think you know what philosophy means. You are using words so far out of context. Like, how does anyone take you seriously? It's not philosophical opposition. It is opposition based on hard fucking evidence. Receipt after receipt after receipt. It's based off the 6 students who are fucking dead because of you. ER documents. Speaking of the parents of those who lost their kids to this insane bastard. Witness statements corroborated by investigations done by the UN themselves, as well as the New York State Department for Special Education. It's based on photos, DESI reports, doctors' reports, ER documents, psychologists, psychiatrists. You fucking name it. You fucking name it. That is not philosophical. It is not philosophical opposition when it is an opposition based off evidence. Okay? Philosophy has nothing to fucking do with it. Philosophy is a subject to study in which to enrich one's own life. This isn't philosophy. This is understandable opposition against those who would torture someone like me simply because we dare to exist. And not only do we dare to exist, folks, but what really gets to be in their bonnet is when we exist and refuse to be made miserable because we were born a certain way. They really hate, and I've seen this on Twitter just the other day, they really hate those of us who accept ourselves as we are and declare that we are worthy of respect, dignity, and fucking human rights as we are. That we don't have to earn it. That we don't have to But you'll never heal that way. Newsflash, Karen, there is no cure for autism. I don't care what the snake oils woman on there sold you. It's a lie. Real healing is healing from the trauma that we have had to endure living in this neurotypical world. Not many of us make it. In fact, a very small amount of us do. People who are autistic who make it to around my age is more the exemption and not the rule. But let's move on here, shall we? Philosophy. God, doctor. How the fuck did you get a license in the first place? Who gave it to you? Because, seriously? As a result, what was represented to the UN repertoire to be an investigation was not one. According to you, right, doctor? Because it's Dr. Israel's opinion is the only one that matters, right? Let me tell you about that MDRI investigation. It is not based off of word of mouth. It's not philosophical opposition. It is legitimate opposition based off of facts, hard evidence, the investigations done outside of the JRC's fucking control by people who do not necessarily have a dog in the fight, which, by the way, are the people you want to carry out the type of investigations that the New York Special Ed Department did. Okay, that's the people you want going in. Okay? If you send somebody in who's already drank the Kool-Aid, what good does it do? Exactly. It was very much one. You want to know what the MDRI did? They collected evidence. You want to know where that evidence is right now? We have it linked in every single video on this channel. It's the Living Archive. I also call it Autistic Hoya's Massive Archive. That is what their investigation was based on. This is what Dr. Matthew Israel calls a philosophical opposition. You see how this is a nonsensical argument, right? The MDRI authors sought out and printed a collection of false accusations with no supporting facts and many anonymous sources and made no effort to investigate or even consider any of the evidence in support of the efficacy of aversive procedures. Glad you brought that up, doctor, because I'm going to pull up that evidence. You said I wouldn't be ready to challenge you. You haven't fucking met me yet, have you? Let's see, shall we? No arguments to show your side, right? Allow me. Allow me to demonstrate. All right. This is a massive archive. Huge. As you can see, it's already kind of listing a table of contents here. But I want you to note something. JRC, Dr. Israel, you paying attention? That would be this. Right here. It says, from the JRC, BRI, and supporters directly. Let's show it, shall we? Look at that. Blog posts, Sun Chronicle newspapers, your op-eds, response to the Mental Disability Rights International report that you did, JRC, letters to the editor, television view. You know what these are, JRC? These are your arguments. You want to know who looked at those arguments, JRC? The MDRI. Yeah. Yeah. Want to know who else looked at these? Because this archive has been around. Obviously, we have updated it since then. But see here, what you would have seen on this site about around where he's bitching here. Well, look at that. 2010, 2008, 2007, 2006, 1994. This would be what the MDRI had access to. Now, I can say with my full chest, doctor, they've read your arguments. But again, these are individuals who aren't just autistics or disabled people. They're also psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, case managers, individuals who represent such large groups such as ARC, the largest bar none JRC provider of services for people who have developmental disabilities in the United States. Yeah. The reason why I bring this up, folks, before we go back here, is as usual, Dr. Matthew Israel presents an argument that is a lie. He's painting MDRI as an incoherent, brain-dead bunch of individuals who have developmental disabilities, that he wants to push home to you that, well, we can't be taken seriously because we're disabled. Our opposition's philosophical, and we're disabled and our brains don't work anyway. So why are we believing the mad ravings of the advocates? You know, they're just disabled people who don't know what's good for them. We should instead just trust in Dr. Matthew Israel. Doesn't work, does it? Doctor, even at the time that this was written, this is a lie. They read your arguments. Hell, they read your handbook. Cover to cover. And it wasn't just people with disabilities who are a part of the MDRI like you try to hammer home. Because what he's doing is trying to get you to buy into the inherent systemic ableism that is built into our world today. Because if he can paint us as all complete disabled advocates with mental disorders, then unfortunately, because we live in the world that we do, he can get a good majority of them to go along with this logic. But there's a problem there. When us, when MDRI, when ASAN, when ADAPT, when we can sit there and pull out receipt after receipt after receipt. And if that wasn't damning enough, we also have the DESI reports, of which the MDRI read, doctor. Okay? It was based off witness testimony, whistleblower testimony, the hard evidence gathered from the 6 parents of the 6 dead fucking kids. Evidence gathered from the reason why your ass was kicked out of fucking California and never allowed to return. Yeah. But he wants you to believe there is no evidence. I find it interesting that he always says, don't believe them, believe me. But he never actually tries to take us on point by point. This whole entire 115-page document is not worth the paper it was written on. It's just him continuously slamming us and doing a horrible job at it. See, I'm willing to go here and go toe-to-toe with this guy, point by point by point. He will sit there and lie to you and say, no, you're just opposed to the shocks. Nah. There are others like me who would also love to take them on point by point by point and have, such as Shane Neuermeyer and Lydia Brown. So, what should we learn from this today, kids? Dr. Matthew Israel wants to use the tools that the world media has provided him to paint us in a certain light. He wants to do that because he can't go toe to toe on every single point. He wants you to believe that our investigation was biased, which is rich coming from a man whose evidence is studies he conducted himself. Yeah. Yeah. Right? He lies. He then tries to cover those lies up by trying to get society to fall into the same ableist tropes that they always have before in order to discount our words. But what he didn't really think about here is the fact that it was more than just us. It was parent advocates, case managers, social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, neurologists. All of them with something that Dr. Matthew Israel never had: actual clinical experience. Which means this argument, I might as well wipe my ass with it, right? It doesn't work. And we're going to close out on that. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit those comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. As always, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I will be seeing y'all next video. Bye-bye.